My name is Gareth, and today I'm doing my second talk with Eva. I'm going to interview Eva about her spiritual path and all of her progress along the spiritual journey. So Eva, do you want to just say hello, who you are?
Hello, everybody. I'm Eva. Nice to see you again after the last interview. And we asked everybody to give us some questions if there are any. And we got some really nice questions. And this was one of them. So thank you very much. And yeah, we're just going to start with this one.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this one because I came across, myself and Eva met about 4 years ago, and we've known each other and become very good friends over the course of the last 4 years. And we also spend a lot of time, we're constantly sending each other voice notes, and we're talking about these different states, and our language is very similar in how we describe these states. And we've both walked the same path, and we've found ourselves kind of merged, you know, at the same destination along that path. So Eva, do you want to start by telling me just a little bit about your early life, like what got you interested in like, was there any mystical experiences as a child? Was there any sort of influence by your parents or anything like that?
So no, not at all, actually. I had a very normal life, went to school, went to university, all that kind of stuff. And the thing was, I was always looking for something and I didn't know what it was. I just wanted to feel fulfilled and happy. So I was actually looking for a happy life, a fulfilled life. And this started early on. So from school time, actually, and I thought when I'm finished with school, then I will reach that state where I feel better. It didn't happen. Then I went traveling after school. Same, didn't happen, didn't find the fulfillment. Then I studied law. It was a very hard time of my life because there was a lot of resistance to the studying and I wasn't really good at it, but in the end I finished it perfectly. So I just put a lot of energy into that because I thought if I finish the university degree, I will finally be fulfilled. And then I wasn't again. And then I also did like a lot of extreme sports. So for example, I did CrossFit. I trained 7 times in 6 days, 6 days a week, and like did like crazy workouts, exhausted my body and everything because I thought if I do that, I will find fulfillment. Yeah, and so on. And then after university, I was looking for a job. I thought if I have a very good job and I'm successful in my job, I will find fulfillment, which I didn't again. And then I kind of didn't know what else to do. And then I stopped working for 2 years and I just thought, okay, I'm just gonna take the time and see what else I can do, I guess. And then I started to do personal development training, or if you want to call it like that, you know, go into personal development, because I heard if you change your personality and the way of thinking, your life becomes better, right? So I tried to do that. I mean, it helped a little bit, but it wasn't like anything where I can say, okay, I found fulfillment. And then I started to do guided meditations, so visualizations. And there was this one meditation where I was able to I was guided very deep on a very deep level, and I was just so deep, and I dropped even deeper. And I was in a place of total silence, total freedom. It was so beautiful. It was just so beautiful. And I was like dissolved, basically, you know, there was no me or anything. And yeah, and this was actually, I knew this is what I want, you know, this is what will bring me the peace and the fulfillment. And then I kind of started to look for more. And then I ended up in your group.
Okay. So let me stop you there. Okay, because there's some stuff there that I didn't know about your journey, your early journey, and it sounds so similar to what I went through. This constant going, okay, when I get my first car, I'm going to be so happy. I'll have the freedom to go wherever I want. I'll be fulfilled, and it never happened. Or the first relationship, when I finally have a relationship, you know, I'm going to be so happy and then it came, and that wasn't it. And it constantly went through things like this. And such a very similar path of like everything I got, everything I thought I wanted, and when I got it, it just didn't bring any lasting happiness whatsoever.
Yeah, it's so interesting because you think, okay, I put in so much work and effort and I do everything to reach that goal. And then you reach the goal and you don't get anything really. It's
Yeah.
this, even it's worse because you know you've put in so much work and you didn't do other things you would have preferred probably. And then it's not happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and even up to the guided meditation, the it's very similar to what happened to me. Someone gave me a guided meditation, and my very first listen, I had the exact same experience you just talked about.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh yeah. I just dropped into a space of no mind, no me. I was like, and it didn't last for very long, but it
Yeah.
was like that was what I wanted to return to every chance that I got. So when I'm hearing you talking about that, it's so similar. And it so what's happening is this is what's known in the yoga of the Bhagavad Gita as dejection. The soul has gone through lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and it cannot find lasting happiness on anything on the outside. Nothing will ever. And that's when the cry goes out to the Supreme Being, and then the Supreme Being comes into your life in the form of whatever, the guru or the transmission. So yeah, amazing, thanks.
Yeah, cool.
So um okay.
And then a friend of ours who was already meditating with you
Yeah.
just recommended to visit one of your Zoom meditations, the free ones you offer twice a week. And I showed up, and it was so funny because I've never meditated in silence before. I didn't know what a transmission is. I didn't know what a spiritual path is. I was spiritually very open, so I knew that there is more. And I was just very open towards that topic, but I didn't really know anything about it. And and then I just started to meditate with you, and it was very, very funny in the beginning because like sitting for an hour and I didn't know what's gonna happen, so that was interesting.
And what was your experience of transmission? What, like, could in them early days, could you like, was there a somatic feeling? Could you feel it in the body? Was it aiding your meditation?
Yeah, so for the first like 3 months, I didn't really feel anything. I had like one experience for 5 or 10 minutes where something came in, right? I felt something. And then I knew, okay, it's a thing. And because other people were sharing, okay, they had nice experiences and they felt, I don't know, they saw light or whatever, something like that. I thought, okay, this is apparently a thing. I just need to get into that more or practice more or meditate more often to experience that. So in the beginning, no, I didn't have any experiences. I just
sure. And in okay, so how did your personal life then start to transform from having a spiritual practice?
I mean, it was always in the evening, so I just did my normal everyday life and just added this to my routine. So in the beginning, this was it. Like there wasn't any other changes or anything.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
Yeah. And then so you've also been connected with some other teachers like Mother Mira. Could you talk a little bit about how you got connected with Mother Mira? Because again, it's a connection that I have as well. And I connected with Mother Mira before I met you. And then when we met, then you also had the connection with Mother Mira.
Yeah. So the mutual, the friend we have, so he's very devoted to Mother Mira and he really likes her meditations. And he also recommended me to meditate with Mother Mira, and she offered a free meditation every day. And that's what I did then. So I just joined her meditations, and I don't know, I really, really liked her. I just liked the feeling of her. But this was already a bit later, so I could already feel the transmission. So after like 3 months meditating with you, I started to feel energies. I started to see like lights and, feel I guess, the energy moving in my body and doing stuff there, transforming it. So I could already feel something. And then when I started to meditate with her, I could already pick it up, like her transmission. Yes.
And did you have any mystical experiences with Mother Mira? Because a lot of people I speak with, you know, as soon as they get introduced to Mother Mira's work or her, just even, you know, if somebody gives them a book, a lot of people have a visitation either in a dream or in meditation, where she comes and she starts working on them, or yeah. So did anything like that happen?
Yes, I mean, this was a bit later on, but I had a couple of really nice experiences. So one was, so in meditation, I was like flying out of my body up in the galaxy, up somewhere, and she was that galaxy basically. So all of that was her, and I just saw her there, and her hand, she held her hand like that, and I was flying into her hand, and then looking at her, and then like just a few seconds, and then I started to look out through her eyes. So I was looking out through her eyes towards me, seeing me there. And then I thought, okay, can I get a blessing from her? And she's like, I don't need it because I'm that.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Like that was a very profound experience.
Wow.
And a lot. Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for sharing. Okay. And then
you had a similar one, didn't you?
Yeah, very, very similar. Yeah, so again, I had seen she was popping up in my Facebook feeds. I was like, oh, you know, who's this Indian woman, you know, who just sits there and says nothing. And I think I tuned in once or twice and sat with it, and I could definitely feel something, again, very early on. And then it wasn't until a friend of mine told me about her and that she was coming to Dublin. And I went off and I was like, okay, I'm gonna book to go see her. And I made the booking on the website. And that night I woke up in a lucid dream, and I was like one place behind a person in front of me who was about to receive darshan from her. And I can remember going, oh, I'm in the queue for darshan with Mother Mira. And I actually had a Muktananda's book in my hand, A Play of Consciousness. And the same thing that I felt very anxious that I was going to miss my turn, because there was no one behind me and it was just about to end. And then the guy in front of me moved out of the way, and I stepped in, and she put her hands on my forehead and she pulled me in. And then the two of us merged into this gold, beautiful light. And I experienced like what I can only describe as mother's love. And it was like the most amazing thing I ever experienced. And the significance of the book, The Play of Consciousness, that was in my hand, it talks about, he talks about receiving darshan in a dream in the book. He talks about how he had a dream and he went to this guru, and the guru gave him the darshan. And then the next day he traveled physically to receive the darshan. And the guru said to him, but you already received the darshan. So I had received the darshan. The next day, all these crazy states of bliss that were amazing. So yeah, a lot of...
Very beautiful. But I remember because we were talking when we actually received darshan the first time from her, because I went to see her a few times. It's like you look into her eyes and I just got a shock. My system got a shock. Yeah. It was just the energy, or I don't know what she did. It was just so strong. My system was in shock. So that was like what I experienced. And yeah, it was great. It was just very great.
And it's funny you say that, because there's two people that I've looked into their eyes and had that. The second time I received darshan from Mother Mira, I looked into her eyes and it was like my knees went weak. That's how powerful she was. And then the other one was Tom Campbell, who I always talk about as well. I looked into his eyes, and I had a saucer, a teacup and a saucer in my hand, and he looked at me, and literally they started shaking in my hands. It was like he was looking through my soul.
Okay.
Okay, so you'd been meditating. So how long had you been meditating before you experienced your first shift in awareness or consciousness?
So Are we talking about like this, the self-realization shift, the first one?
Sure. Yeah, or your first significant change where you started to realize that you were more than the body and.
Oh yeah, okay. So I started to do the one-on-one sessions with you, like after meditating a few months with you, doing the light transmission, and you were measuring my LOC, which I really liked because I really like the concept of having numbers and seeing my progress. Back then it was very important to me.
Yeah.
And so I guess a stepping stone is 640. Do you call it self-realization? Or what
I mean, I'll just quickly clarify to some people who might not know what the level of consciousness is. So the LOC is numerical. It's sort of like it's a way of gauging the different states, and some people have a problem with it and some people love it. For me, it's very useful when I'm working with people to see that person's progress. So, and basically, I just see it as soon as I sit with someone. Early on, I used to have to kind of do muscle testing and all this to get the number, but now I just sit with them. I know exactly where they are. I know by how they talk, how they look. I know by what's going on around their eyes, roughly where they are. And that LOC with the light transmission, it jumps. It's like you're pulling information and in the form of light. That's the way I would explain it. The metaphor of light, it's just you're bringing greater information into the person's system, and over time it increases that person's connection with what they are, which is, you know, universal consciousness. So we had started doing one-to-one sessions, and I was working this way with you. And then do you want to just talk a little bit about like how they started to affect you, how long it took before you reached that first shift? So 640, so the gauge goes from 30 all the way up to 1,000, okay? And the average human on the planet is around 300, 350. That's the LOC of the general, you know, population of our planet is about 350. At 570-ish, around that kind of number, the persons, they become spiritual seekers. Yeah. So you were a spiritual seeker.
Yeah, I guess you can call it like that. I mean, I didn't know that I was, but apparently that's what I was. So I started with, I don't know, like 550 or something like that. That's where I started. So it took, I don't know, was it probably a month or something or two to reach the 640. And it's not that I had a shift or anything. It's more how I see the world has changed. So that's one part. Actually, like how my vision has changed. So the vision kind of closed down a little bit, and I looked at everything like with a more narrow vision, and it was like a camera. So you look at everything like through a camera. So that really happened. The vision changed. And then also because you kind of realize, okay, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm the observer. It's like you look through a camera. So that's how life kind of becomes in that kind of way. And also some stuff started to fall away for me. Just, you know, things I thought were important, things I liked, then I didn't like it anymore. You know, just little things started to fall away, or I got more aware of patterns I had, or you know, different thoughts I had. So I was just more aware. That was really handy. That was really nice. Yeah.
So I would also describe it very similar as sort of like I used to feel that it was just a camera, you know, awareness looking out through the lens of a camera, and there was nothing really there. There was no love, there was no bliss. It was just awareness. My mind was very quiet. And then a lot of patterns very similar to what you said just immediately fell away. And one of the biggest ones for me was fear. Just was gone at that first shift.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So like what fell away for you was different than for me in different states. So this is very normal. And also you experienced a lot of bliss early on. I didn't. So I didn't, for example. So it's just everybody's very different. And I just want to say this here because we work with a lot of people and they kind of have expectations, or they have heard stories of other people and they kind of looking for these shifts or bliss or whatever. And it's just so different for everybody. It's very different. Like every person is unique. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really good to bring that up and talk a little bit about your experience of bliss, Eva, because it's almost like people have this expectation that they should be like, blissed out of their minds all day long, sitting drooling on themselves and in this fuzzy state. Is that your experience?
No. So I started to experience bliss coming in and out in unity. Before I didn't. Maybe just like in a meditation or very, very short periods. And then in unity was more. Sometimes it had a content. So when I say it's a content, it's like joy or love. But most of the time it's empty. It's like, so empty bliss is basically just the whole body vibrates. It's vibration in every cell of the body. And like right now, I experience it all the time, 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's there all the time. It's just that vibration. It's without any content, but it's like, it's just there. It's just the bliss of existence. I don't think about it. It's, it's just, so people are looking for the bliss, but the bliss is just the byproduct of the awakening process. So, and it depends on the system. Some systems, they have it. Some systems just don't, or smaller amount.
So I would describe that as the bliss of being. Just that's what you are. Consciousness, knowing itself as consciousness. It's just a very nice resting in brilliance and stillness, and it's a bliss, but it's not a bliss where it's not an intoxicating bliss. You can be like, at least for me, I'm fully functional. I can like totally do all the human chores that need to be done. I can exercise, I can do all of them things, and then come back down, sit here, open up my computer, talk with you, and then feel bliss.
Yeah, it's just there all the time. But like after, let's say, one of your retreats, right? So we're on the retreats, there's a lot of energy going on, a lot of clearing and expanding and so on. Like a few days after your retreats, I felt a lot of bliss, for example. And even, okay, so I was sitting in my office, I tried to work, but I didn't, because I just didn't care, because the bliss felt so nice. But this was only like, there for a few days. It's not that I was sitting in those bliss states for a long period of time.
Yeah. And just to add to that as well, because I did talk about it, having states of like extreme bliss, and that was the bliss of Kundalini, which it's a little bit different. It almost feels like it's an external force that's like moving through your system, and you have no control over it. And as it's rising, it's like it is really intoxicating and blissful. But again, once the Kundalini rises and reaches the brain, it just becomes the bliss of being, the bliss of self. So it's sort of like quietens down and becomes has a different quality to it, much more manageable, much more, I would say, more human, more integrated.
Yeah, it's integrated. It's just there. It's just part of you, and that's it. I mean, we probably talk then in unity, so we should talk in unity about the bliss as well, because that's different than before. So maybe
so let's talk about the shift into unity that happened for you.
Do you want to know all of it?
I mean, I want to know. Obviously, I have some history with you and your shift into unity. So I would like to know, like, the good, any pitfalls around unity that came up.
Yeah. So the thing is, on my that year, so it took a year to go from like when I started to work with you to unity. So, and I had sessions with you like probably every couple of weeks, and then sometimes. And so I didn't have a lot of releasings, no clearing really. I didn't really do any healing work. It was actually very nice. Nothing major happened. Just the the changes in perception and everything that happened. That was really nice, but nothing major. And then when I had the unity shift, so first how it happened. So I knew I was very close to the shift already, and I was working, and just everything where I was, like I was in a store, everything just became total blissful. So it was vibrating, it was pure light dancing everywhere. It was just so beautiful, and I felt ecstatic. So I knew, okay, this must be, the shift or something like that. And then we had the group meditation in the evening, so your Tuesday group meditation. And then I had an experience, so my skin just flew off, basically. And then I became one with everything. So it was like, like that. And then I was one with everything. And then I was like, okay, that must have been the shift, right? And then I woke up on the next day. Okay, I could see it right away, because like the boundaries were gone.
Yeah.
Before it's like everything is like in the small container, but then the boundaries are gone. So at first it felt very weird. And then because I had a lot of low vibrational emotions in my system, which I didn't know of, they were just like blowing in my face, basically, because the mechanism of pushing stuff down is gone. So how I see this, the small self, how I experienced it, is centered in that area here. And it was like ripped out of my chest. So, and it was empty. So it was just a hole there. And this was holding all the emotions and everything down. So this was gone. For 3 or 4 days, I felt this hole. It went away then, it integrated. But then like I felt depression, heavily depression. I couldn't get out of bed for 1 day, for example. I felt fear, anxiety, like all these low vibrational emotions were coming up. I was devastated. I thought I had, fucked up my life, basically.
You're not selling the unity consciousness shift here, Eva.
I know. Like I hardly have met anybody who had an experience like that. For most people, they don't even feel it in that way, or it's nicer. I just had a really, I don't know, a bad one. I guess.
Yeah. So I remember meeting with you a little, a few days afterwards, and you were close to tears. You said to me, "Why didn't you warn me about this stuff?"
Yeah. I just, that's the thing. So the ego expects being free, expecting the bliss, the nice states, and everything. So there's an expectation, but you don't know what it actually means, right? And then you're there, and it's totally different than you think. And I was just, devastated, because I didn't understand it, But then, you said, okay, I'm gonna be fine. I didn't feel like fine, so I felt like I'm dying. Somebody pulled the rug underneath my feet, and this was. So I got very sensitive about foods, energy, a lot of stuff. So just a lot of stuff happened. And this took about 2 months to overcome. So it was quite some time, and it wasn't very easy. But then everything like started to integrate and become nice.
So this is something I said to you, was like, this is going to take time to integrate. And this is something that I see that comes up for a lot of people, is that the mechanism, because it's like the ego is what makes us feel okay with all of this negativity in our system and fear, and it talks to us and it smooths everything out, and it's like, it keeps everything pushed down where it's manageable, and hidden away. And then when the shift into unity happens, it's like it's everything is like your inner world and your outer world become one, and all of that stuff has nowhere to hide, so it rises up right in your face. And I get lots of people who are like, oh my god, stuff is getting worse. Like my outside life, everything is like, the shit is hitting the fan. I'm having fights with people, and I'm like, that's totally normal, totally normal. It all has to come up and be sat with and be acknowledged for it to be transmuted and released.
Yes.
So it took about 2 months for you.
Yeah, it took 2 months, and then but the fear was there for at least half a year. So I had a lot of fear, a fear of not knowing what's gonna come next, a fear of transmissions, a fear of meditating and stuff like that. But it was there, but I still sat, because I still meditated with Mother Mira. She was a big help for me. So I just a friend of mine said, okay, you just need to choose somebody you trust, and then you just walk forward. And for me, it was Mother Mira and you. I mean, you were there before anyways, but like also Mother Mira. And that just, this was like the straw I was holding on to. And I didn't feel good, but I just was continuing doing the work. And then it eventually was fine. Yeah. Yeah, and you were such a big help, you know, like I can't imagine for people who don't have anybody to turn to, man, that's crazy, you know, like you have these experiences and you don't know what's happening, but if you have somebody who has experience, it's so much easier because they can tell you, you know, it's fine, you know, it will pass.
Yeah, I guess that's very true. And yeah, I mean, it's almost like and I'm going to use the analogy of like running, for instance. It's like you know, I took up running recently, and my dad was a high level runner. Like he was like an elite runner, a marathon runner. And it's like every time I run, I'll, you know, finish running and I'll ring him up and I'll talk to him and I'll tell him what's going on. And it's like as if he knows. He's like, look, you know, you need to bring it down. You need to, you know, your next run, you go up. So it's so nice to have someone there that can give you that advice, someone who's walked the path and gone, okay, look, I can see what's going to happen. I've walked up ahead and I can see, yes, there's a few bumps along the path, along the journey, but you're going to be fine. You just keep walking, keep trusting. And you know, it's really nice to have someone just to tell you that. Yeah, just to tell you that everything is okay.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and as soon I get people, you know, they'll come and they'll say, this is happening. And they'd say, is that normal? And I'll go, that's totally normal. And none of this is normal, right? Yeah. Okay, it's none of it is, right? But as soon as I tell them that it's totally normal, I can see a sigh of relief comes over them. They're like, oh, okay, everything's fine. And it's so much more useful for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just that they know it's normal because there is the fear and the anxiety and they don't know what's going to happen. And if you have somebody telling you it's normal, then you can just relax into it and you're open, and then it can pass through the fear and anxiety. So
yeah,
very handy.
Yeah, very handy. Okay, so after the Unity shift, you then started coming on the in-person retreats a little bit later, wasn't it?
Yes, just a few months later. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you want to talk about how, because you like doing them, Eva?
Yeah.
I mean, you really enjoy you've been to so many of them. You like, I mean, it's so, I love looking at you and you're there getting on so well with everybody, and you know
because everybody's so nice, you know, because the people who come are always so nice. It's such a, you know, it's so nice to be there. So I'm loving it. Yeah.
And I've even known, like, you've become the center of attention now. At the before they used to sit talking to me, now they all sit talking to you.
Oh my God, yeah. They're asking questions.
Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about like what the difference the in-person retreats we're having, say, over like the group meditations on Zoom or the one-to-ones?
Yeah, so first I just want to add that I knew Unity is a progress, an integration progress. So that's why it's needed to continue meditating, continuing doing whatever is available, because, you know, it's not the end there. And that's why the retreats were so handy, and also the online retreats. And it's all about spending as much time in meditation as possible and be exposed to the energies, because they transform the system, and also you surrendering more, dropping in deeper states. And yeah, I don't know, like every retreat I went to, something fell away from me, from my life experience or from the experience of myself, or my how I experienced the world. So every time I had a shift, I went to a retreat. So yeah, they were very transformative. So not just we had the fun times and you know, the socializing, which I love, but there was always a major shift.
Yeah, so I also strongly agree with what you said about Unity. It's not like just a one click and it's done. There's an integration, there's a refining of perceptions, and what that is you getting to know that state so well, so deeply, like intimately, sitting in it, like marinating in them juices. Yeah, and like there's periods of time where you just want it. You need to sit and be in absorption, and that's really useful in the in-person retreats because you get to sit there and meditate for hours each day in the
Yeah, and
energies.
because you're exposed so many hours to the energy, and also like you just need to be there. It's not only the meditation, it's just being there. Yeah, it changes so much, and the integration can happen so much faster. So they're like a big boost to the path. Like you can just get so much faster if you go to a retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, unity just takes some time to integrate. So for some people it's a few months, for some people it's years, but it just takes time. Yes.
Yeah. And how did your experience of unity change from okay, early on you still had a lot of fear in your system because it was such a shock. So
Yeah.
so like how did your experience of unity consciousness change? You described it really well, like very similar to how I would describe it, of literally like the boundaries dissolve. And actually when you described the scale, you had told me that a very, very long time ago, because like how long has it been, like 2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
But I had another person tell me the exact same thing, the skin peeled off. Yeah, in a vision. And yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, that's the boundaries, right? It's the
Yeah.
skin, the boundaries of the body. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So, and then in unity, I mean, we talked a little bit about in the last talk already. So what the thing in the unity is, you have the experience of the unity for a few days, and then it shuts down again, right? For a few days, and then it comes up again and down. So it's all about, this state was all about getting the samskaras out of the system, clearing the system. Yeah.
So do you just want to briefly explain samskaras for those who don't know what they are?
So samskaras is basically karma, or just energies in the system you collected throughout life or even past lives, and their energy. It's just energy in the system it resides there basically, and it's the lower vibrational energies. So they keep you on a lower vibration. Yeah.
So would you describe them as solidity in the system?
That you can
Yeah,
just.
yeah. So you're dissolving solidity.
Yeah, I mean, it's wording, or it's how people are used to, what kind of language they have. And
Yeah.
because I work with people now, I just see it as a ball of energy in their system, and I see the content, so I know what vibration the energy ball has, basically. So that's how I see it. But everybody, it's different, but it's the same. We were talking about the same thing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And just to get back to how your experience of unity changed, like so obviously the first part, it was all about integration, and then it bloomed into something else, right? It was a much more enjoyable experience for you.
Yeah, it was so much more enjoyable because it was just more peaceful, right? So there's a lot more peace. There's a lot less thoughts. Then also I started to, you see the self in everything. So it's so funny because, I've read books or heard people talking, and they're like, oh, I saw the self in I don't know, a glass or something like that. And I was like, how is this impossible? How can I see myself in a glass? Because it's
Yeah.
like, you just don't know. And then I knew. So it's more like, it's like everything is made out of energy or of consciousness. So you start seeing that in everything, and this reflects back to you. So when you look at something, it reflects back to you, and this is how I perceived it. And I saw then the bliss in my eyeballs. Basically, when I looked at stuff, I just saw the bliss everywhere, and then the eyeballs. So everything was the self, and I was the self. I wasn't like the tiny human anymore.
Yeah. And I would describe that as consciousness looking out through your eyes and recognizing itself in the outside world as consciousness, and the feedback that it gets is bliss.
Yeah. So it's the same thing, it's just different wording.
Yeah, of course. This is all language, and everybody uses different words to describe, the same thing.
It's just very good for people who are listening, because they know, okay, because every teacher or everybody who went through this just uses different words. So for the same thing. And yeah, it was like, it was very enjoyable, and got more enjoyable over time when less samskaras were in my system, when I was clearer. So you're also like, you're very clear, you start listening more to intuition, or hear even more the intuition, so you know what's me, what do I want, you know, compared to before information was coming in and it was confusing. Yeah, so
And Eva, do you want to talk a little bit about the dissolving the samskaras, what you found was useful? Because okay, so what I'm talking about is like that we can't just meditate our way out of certain things, or we can't just say everything is the self, or you know, and just, you know, everything is perfect the way it is. Sometimes we need a little bit of help. We need energy healing. We need some sort of techniques. Do you want to talk a little bit about the techniques that you used, or any of the teachers that you used, like healing techniques? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, very helpful was the sat, of course, in meditation, teachers are doing this. And then I worked with Elizabeth Rose for like 1.5 years. I had regular sessions with her, and she helped me to clear out a lot. So she was so helpful, and she's such a nice lady. So I can really recommend also.
Yeah. And just to say that I also did a number of sessions with Elizabeth, about 7 or 8 sessions, and I actually told everybody in the group about her, and she had a big influx of the members all went to her.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people went to her. Yeah, because she's doing a great job, you know. So she helped a lot. And then I also did some practice myself. So it's a specific practice, and it's about it's pranayama, visualizations, and also you draw in the Divine Mother, energy of the Divine Mother. And so it's a combination. And I did this for 5 or 6 months. It's like a daily practice you do. And this helped me a lot. So it's there to become a channel, a dynamic channel for the Divine Mother. And for that, for her to come in, you need to have a totally clear system. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And yeah, that's what I did. And you did.
Yeah, and I did it as well. And you described it beautifully, that she can only come in when your system is completely clear of everything that is in opposition to what she is. And I would describe that as, like, you know, pettiness, gossip, all of these lower vibration bad habits that we have that are just stored in our systems, you know, reactiveness, jealousy, lust, all of these lower vibration human.
Oh yeah. I mean, they all have to go because they're not the highest truth.
Yeah.
You know, the highest truth is love, light, truth, and a few other high vibrations. But everything else, I mean, it's very human to have them. You know, it's very normal. Like, there is no blame or anything. But just if you have that in your system, you just know, okay, I can do something about it, and maybe I should, because then I get clearer and clearer if they have been experienced. So yeah.
So Eva, just to add, because I find this really, really interesting, because it's self-mastery. Basically what we're doing is, like, we first of all, we have to identify that they're there and be honest enough to go, you know what, I'm not as clear as I thought I was. I've got some stuff going on, and identifying them. And like, how would you describe? So how I would describe finding them is like triggers. As soon as we get triggered, it's like, oh, hang on, I'm after getting triggered. What is that? And it's about having enough awareness to go, okay, this is not about what this person's just said to me. This is something to do with me. It's not, because it's never what's external. It's all about where that has hit. What has that hit in me that's not true, that's in opposition to truth. So how would you describe that? How would you find these samskaras, Eva?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it was always about, I wanted to feel good, right? This was why I went on that path. So, and when these triggers came up, I didn't feel good. And so I was always doing everything I could to make myself feel good, and everything that was in the way, so all the samskaras, I just wanted to clear. So this was like, this is what I did. This was my mission.
So it's kind of so, and again, we have so many similarities in our path, because, like, you know, you like to work out, and I'm very similar as well. And I came from a background of been in the sports background and nutrition, and I would be very much like the same. I would be like, anything that's there, I need to get it, I need to find it, I need to dig it out and destroy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, yeah, we're very similar. Yeah. Yeah. But this was the drive, I had. And yeah, and I just knew, okay, everything that I always, when I get triggered or I didn't feel good about something, it's in me. This is just how creation works. It's always in you. It's never on the outside. So yeah, I was aware of that. So I was just looking, digging, clearing, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then going through the phase of samskaras releasing was a very hard phase, I have to say. So it was for like 2 months where every other day a samskara popped up, basically my experience. And then you are that samskara. So you are the fear, the anxiety, the depression, the anger, whatever. And it's very unpleasant. But I knew I just had to go through it to clear the system, and they got less and less, and the technique helped so much, so it got less and less until they were gone. Like then I felt, okay, the samskaras are gone, but it didn't mean I was totally clear yet. It was just the main stuff or bigger things were gone, and little things were still there. Yeah, but yeah.
So can I just to jump in really quick? So the technique isn't actually getting rid of the samskaras. It's bringing them up to the surface.
Yes. And then you have to like experience them for 2 days or something like that.
Yeah.
Pop up in your face.
Yeah, you have to sit with them, and it's really uncomfortable, right?
It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah. But ultimately, it's you that has to work with them and transmute them and get rid of them. It's somebody just can't come along and take them away, right?
Yeah, I mean, 2 ways. So I felt the healing did a lot of taking away. And when I do healing work for people, I take stuff away, but it's not everything. Like some things they just have to pass through. That's just how it is. But you can actually, with additional healing work, stuff can be taken away. So yeah.
Yeah. It's like I had an experience. I went to get a hug off Amma one time, and I had the most amazing, blissful day. And when I went home that evening, the smallest little thing triggered me, and I lost it. I remember like it brought me back to being a 17-year-old, like having a temper tantrum and throwing things around the house, with my parents. And it was like, and it took ages, and I had to sit with this. And it was like, I was like, wow, this has always been there. It's like, it hasn't gone. It's just been tucked down somewhere in my system. And Amma's hug, her energy, has brought that up for me to dissolve, to be with, to acknowledge that it's still there and heal it.
Yeah, exactly. And now when I do the healing work, we look, where these samskaras are for people, and then we see how their life right now is influenced by that samskara. So that's the problem with the samskaras. It's actually influencing your life experience in a negative way, but in a low vibrational way. So yeah, it's really good to get rid of them.
And as you got rid of them, Eva, how were your perceptions changing? Was there any changes in perception, energy? Were you feeling the energies different?
Yeah, so a lot more. I felt a lot more energies, a lot more bliss than before, and also a lot more peace and quiet. Like just so much peace in the system, and I felt really good. This was actually the first time of all the path where I can say I felt great for longer periods of time, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks in a row. Then there was like a little thing coming up, then 3 or 4 weeks. So, but this was actually the first time, yes.
And Eva, let's just talk about them little things that come up, and just because I get, obviously we're both working with people now, and we have people come along and they go, well, this has happened this week, and I've been getting angry, and I've been having, arguments with people, and they're like, they seem to think that this is the opposite of what should be happening. And I was like, no, it's not. This is a good thing. This is them samskaras coming up and being released.
Yes, released. And so after you do like techniques, or you go to Amor or something like that, it just or after you come do a session with me, it can happen that you feel them coming up over the next 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So this is very normal. And I tell people that's great, even though it feels bad, but it's good because it gets cleared out. So I always say to people, just do something you enjoy, take it easy, just, allow it to be there and, do something nice and then it will pass. Yeah.
Yeah, because people immediately equate not feeling good with, oh, something is wrong, or this is not good, I need to like run away. And it's not about running away. It's about just being with it.
Yeah, because you can't run away anyways.
You can't run away.
Yeah, and if you have resistance, then you have more pain. So that's why I say do something nice, because then, the system is open, even though you don't feel great, but like go for a run, I don't know, drink cacao, whatever, just little things.
Chocolate dates, Eva.
Yeah.
Chocolate covered dates. Okay, so we spoke about it on the last talk that we did. And I just want to come back to the death of the I thought. So do you recall that happening? Was that a different shift to unity? Like when unity happened, like you kind of said that was sort of like incremental. There was a shift, but then it was a sort of an incremental getting to know that state over a period of time. When the I thought dissolved, what was your experience of that?
Yeah, so I didn't have a shift or anything when the I thought dissolved. It was more like I felt more freedom, and at first I didn't really know why, but then I realized because there is nothing you can actually take personal anymore, nothing. So even if somebody says something nasty into your face, you it's not even that you're not triggered, it's like you have no, like it's not negative, it's just you feel the energy of it, but you feel the person's energy, you also feel it's the person.
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with you, and this is so freeing. Like this is the most freeing experience, because whatever happens, you accept everybody, it's not about you, it's not personal anymore. People have different opinions, that's fine, everything is just a lot easier and a lot more coherent, flowing, nicer. It's great.
Yeah, so the image I'm getting at the moment is like a window open, and it's just everything's just flowing through the window, absolutely not touching anything. Yes. You're totally free of it. It's not sticking to anything. Yeah,
it's really nice. It's really nice. Yeah.
So would you say that this is the end of the triggers?
Oh yeah, it's the end of the triggers. Yes.
Yeah. So you're no longer being triggered by,
And even if people say something you don't prefer, or you would say differently, it's like you don't even interfere, because there's no point, And
it's like, who am I even talking to?
Yeah, before it's more like, okay, I need to correct that person, or I need to give them my opportunity, something like that. But this is then all totally gone. It's just gone.
You need to get on your keyboard and start typing out posts. Keyboard warriors. So okay, so and just for me to talk about that, I would talk about the death of the I thought being Sahaja Samadhi. Basically, you enter a state of effortless meditation that never goes away. You never have to sit and to try and get into meditation. You are in meditation. You are meditation. Would you agree with that, Eva?
Yeah. So when I realized that I meditate, and it doesn't matter if I meditate or not, this was a bit later.
Okay.
So there was some time in between. But then you don't need to meditate anymore, right? Yeah,
I mean, again, none of this is linear. So people can have experiences at different stages. Some people can have experiences of unity, way before they get to that shift. So none of it's linear. And then do you want to talk about the shift into Brahman? Because that was another big one for you that we talked a lot about.
Yeah, that was my most beautiful experience so far in my life. So I was at one of your retreats again, and we did a very nice meditation with music, Divine Mother devotional music. And I was just sitting there, and all this love was coming in, like this unconditional divine love pouring into my system. It was so beautiful, and I have never experienced it before to that extent. And then basically what happened, the Divine Mother came into my system, and I was her for, I don't know, 20 minutes or something like that. So I could feel her strength, the infinite, the feminine, like very feminine, the power and everything. It was so beautiful. It was just so beautiful.
I mean, when I look at you, Eva, I can see that you embody all them qualities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I asked her, I was like, okay, how can I experience this all the time? Because if I can experience it now, it must be a thing, right? And then I got the information, I have to get rid of human love. Okay, I didn't know what it means. So then after the retreat, for about 2 weeks, I was shown what I think human love is, or what I think what love is. I just call it human love. So it's always conditional.
Yeah.
So for example, I only love you because you love me back, or because you're nice to me, or I love you because then I feel better, or I don't know. It's always about like the human, or the me. Like it's always about me basically. So it's conditional. So I was shown all of that, and I just gave it away. So I gave it to her every day. I gave something away until there was nothing left. Then I was just empty. And this was then the shift. So got rid of all the human love. No human love left.
I feel sorry for all the humans around you now, Eva.
Yeah. I mean, what comes in now, of course, it's a lot more beautiful because it's the unconditional love, and it's just there for everybody. But it's the same for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So like, it's not, I don't have special more love for my parents or partner, or people who are close to me. It's different now. So I have the same love for everybody, and when I interact with somebody, there's just this love there. I mean, I feel drawn to certain beings more than others because they just prefer their personality or their beingness. So there's still a difference, but the love is the same for everybody. So yes.
Yeah. Wow. And so yeah, and I can totally relate to that, because I also had the experience with the Divine Mother, and she's just amazing what she is. She's just incredible.
Yeah, it was the same retreat. It was the same retreat.
Yeah.
The experience. And it's just the love, like the unconditional love when this comes in. Because I remember also after the retreat, when you had the experience, we were texting and we were like, sitting at home on the sofa crying because this love is coming in meditation. It's just pouring in. It was so beautiful, Yeah,
it's like she had burst something in my heart, and it was just overflowing. So at any stage did that state of the Brahman then become empty? Was there an emptiness quality that came with the state of the Brahman?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in the last podcast. So at first it was like total emptiness. Just everything goes into the emptiness. So how I describe it is like, if something comes towards you, let's say an energy, like an emotion or something like that, before it's like it hits you, because there's still something there, so it hits you, and then it does something in the system, and you react, you have thoughts and so on, but then it just passes through you. So that's how it feels like. It passes through, and this is the emptiness. Yes. And there is no love. So coming from this crazy love experiences, unconditional love, to no love. But I also have to say, because we didn't say this last time, and it's so important, there's also no suffering. There's no anxiety.
Yes.
Gone. So you don't have anything, basically. You don't have any emotions. There are no emotions.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's not like it's a bad, like when you talk about being no love, it's like nothing feels bad. There's no suffering, there's no badness, but there's nothing amazing, happening. That divine love is not there. And you also see that everything is painted on the canvas of that nothingness. So everything that you're experiencing is the Divine Mother projecting our reality onto the canvas of Brahman. And it's just for us. She's putting it up there just for us to have that beautiful experience a bit here and eating chocolate dates or whatever we do. And then all of a sudden we turn away and it dissolves. It's just, it falls into nothingness. And then she'll pop up the next thing for us to interact with.
Yeah, and this is actually an experience. So you move out, you move through life, and everything is happening and dissolving, happening, dissolving. And even when you like look further in the distance, it's like there is a movie screen, and everything is projected on the movie screen. And between the movie screen and you, it's 3D, but it's all just a projection. It's not real. So after that, there is nothing. You know, only how far you can see, basically. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's so amazing because we're both talking about the same thing, because I often describe it as the same. It's like you're sitting in a movie theater, and it's like you have this peripheral vision, right, that's going out from the corner of your eyes, and all that you're seeing is what's in front of you. And it's like, it's almost like that if you pull back the curtain on the side and peek around, it's absolute nothingness. And that's, everything has just been projected onto that screen.
Yeah, but it's like when you go through life, it's not that you see the screen all the time. You have a feeling that it's how it is. You know it. It's not that you do your everyday tasks and everything is happening on a screen. No. So it's just, you know, those moments when you look out and then you realize, okay.
Yeah, you reflect on it.
But when you go through your everyday life, it's not, you know, it's not there.
Yeah. But you tend to walk through life very differently now after that experience, because nothing is touching you.
Yeah, and I just know it's not real, you know, just the experience of it is real, but it's not a real reality. So
yeah. So it's almost like you can see that it's sort of like a video game. If we use the metaphor of a video game, it's like that. Oh, it's just a game. It's literally just a virtual reality that we're interacting in.
Yes, and it's the same with like other realities, like the astral realms and other dimensions. It's the same. It's all a play of consciousness, and yeah, it's just you can experience it, but it's just a play of consciousness. So yeah.
Okay, so I describe the soul as exiting reality, okay, and merging with that Brahman, and becoming one with it. Basically, the soul is now, it's here, and it's also partitioned outside of creation in that Brahman. And then the way I describe it is that the soul descends back in, and this is what we call para Brahman. And do you want to talk about your experience of what that felt like for you as your soul reemerged?
Yeah. So because, you know, there is no love and joy and everything, and that this was always the thing I was going for. I just wanted to experience this again. And then I just decided after a few months, okay, it's time. I had this great experience of the Brahman, but I want to like come back basically to have a normal human experience. And then this started to come back in. So the love, the joy, just the high vibrations started to come in, and just life started to get more, let's just call it colorful again, right? So everything gets more flavor. You can interact more normally with people. It's just, you are now, you know, you're not human, you are a droplet of the Brahman, but you having this human experience basically, and you know it's not real and all of that. So you have all this knowledge now going through this reality, and yeah, it's amazing. And to me, it's just so amazing what it's possible in one lifetime and in such a short time. So for me, it was like all this I experienced in 3.5 years. And it's just incredible. I'm just so grateful that I was able to experience that. You know, it's I don't even have words for that. It's so beautiful.
I mean, for me, looking at what you've done in such a short period of time, Eva, it's remarkable. It really is. It's an honor actually sitting here and doing this talk with you, and, you know, getting the chance to put it up on YouTube for so many people to watch and to learn and to see, you know, that, oh, this can be done in one lifetime.
Exactly, but and I have to say, like, thank you so much to you, because you were such a great support, and you were there along the way. You were available to me every time I needed you, and you helped me so much. So I really know how important it is to have a good teacher and somebody you can trust. And for me, it was you. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, but I also see now that you are a teacher. You have come back in and you have the qualities that I would consider. I would look at you and say, Eva is a teacher. She is like she whatever qualities that are needed for someone. Like, firstly, you have the divine forces. The divine forces are flowing through you. So I sort of see the soul exiting reality, merging with the Brahman consciousness for however long, and then a re-entering back in. But as you're coming back in, you're piercing through a membrane and you're bringing in them divine forces, the Sat, Chit, and Ananda. And do you want to talk about them? Like, what's coming through?
Yeah. So first, what I can say, before the Brahman and the Bar Brahman, I felt energies, right? And I felt different flavors, but I didn't see any information. Now it's like, okay, when energies come in, I see their information, I see what they do, what they're here for. When I work with people, different energies from the Divine Mother. So I work with the Divine Mother, and what comes through me are high vibrational healing energies. So they're high vibrational, and they have a content, and they come through and they transform people's system, and whatever is needed comes in for that person that's having the session. So there are multiple flavors, multiple information, can change the system differently. Yeah. So
And can we talk about the healing? So how, okay, after that experience of coming back in, the experience of the Divine Mother, how did the healing abilities develop? Like, how did you start to see these, feel them? Like, when did you discover that, oh, I can take people's suffering away, I can see the suffering in people's systems?
Yeah. So just real quick, about, I think it was, sometimes in Unity, I got a Reiki, Kundalini Reiki initiation from a friend of mine. And I used it, every now and then on family and friends. And it was good, like they saw results. But then after a while, other energies were coming through. So it wasn't the Reiki, it was other energies, but I didn't really do any like healing work to that extent, just, for a few people. But then when I had to shift into the Brahman, just a lot more came in. So when I did a healing on a person, different energies started to come in. So the energy started to move my body, and started to do the stuff. So what basically is happening right now is not really me doing the things, it's the energies are moving through me, using me as a tool, and I exactly know what I need to do, and I get information. So it's just the information, it's like a bubble, it bursts, and then I see the information, I can share it with people, and it's all about that. So I'm being the tool basically for the energies. And
yeah. So how I would describe that is you've become the dynamic channel for them forces, that you've gone out, you've come back in through that membrane, and now them energies have a channel, a conduit to come down into creation through your physical form. They become very organized around you.
Yeah. So working, for example, with Elizabeth Rose opened more up. I mean, I was already told a long time ago that I'm going to do healing work, so I kind of knew this will open up. So it's just the clearing of the system helped just to open up the abilities, and also doing the samskara clearing, helped also with that. So everything helped a little bit, so that this started to open up more. Yes.
Amazing. And Eva, can you talk me through what you do in a one-to-one session?
Yeah, so what basically happens is there is the base transmission running from when I start the session, so the high vibrational healing energies. And then I talk to the people for a few minutes, and if they want, they can tell me what I should look into during the session. Sometimes people have certain topics they want me to look into. Sometimes it's just, okay, we'll see, whatever happens, because everything will happen for the highest good anyways in the session. And then what I do is I just tell people to close their eyes, meditate along. I also close my eyes. Then I need a few minutes to prepare the session. And then I just basically share everything I do during the session, everything I do, everything I see. Then I sometimes ask them questions. They ask me questions. You know, it's like it's a talk basically with eyes closed where I share what I see and do. And yeah, so every session is very different. And it's helping people a lot. Like I have a lot of very good people have good results. And
Well, so the healings, tell me exactly what you're healing. So are you healing like emotional blockages? Are you removing samskaras? Talk to me about like what happens to a person. Like they come in, they say, Eva, I've got this problem, or I'm depressed, or I'm down, or I can't feel energies. Tell me, like what do you do?
Yeah, so for example, I'm depressed, right? A lot of people who I work with are depressed. So I just open up the session, prepare the system, and then I ask, okay, how can I help this person basically, or what can I do to see where the depression is coming from? And then the energy is basically showing me where to look. So in different areas of the body, so often like stuff is happening in the mind, so I clear stuff out of the mind. I replace the energy from the mind, for example, to more love, light, and truth, you know, the low vibrational. Then I work basically with chakras, although it's not so much that I work with the chakras, I just see that's where the energy collects in the body. So yeah, that's why I work with them, because it's actually there.
Yeah, I was going to say the metaphor, the chakras are more of a metaphor. It's just, they're just tools to work with.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just centers of the body where energy collects.
Exactly how I would describe it. Yeah.
And then when like the stuff that's like there in the system in this moment for the person is cleared, so that the stuff from that day, for example, or what's currently in the system, then I look, okay, where's the depression coming from? And then I see, okay, maybe it's from a childhood experience, it's an experience that happened later in life, it's from a past life, it's multiple things. It can be like coming from parents, grandparents, you know, ancestral stuff. So it's different areas where it can come from. And then I basically heal it and clear it. And also there are parts of people that are holding on to them because they're serving. So depression is all these things, or most of the things are serving also in a way. You know, for example, somebody's depressed, then the person doesn't have to work, or the person gets looked after. You know, there are also reasons for that to be there. So yeah, so it's like, can be multiple things.
Sure.
And then I look into this, I heal it, clear it out of the system, and then the work is done. You know, energetically it's done. And then it needs to basically manifest in the body and in the life experience. So, you know, either people go out after the session and it's gone right away, or it just takes a few days or weeks until it manifests differently. And I always replace everything I remove, I replace with high vibrational energies. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I know it's a little bit tricky to talk about as well, but in terms of like physical illnesses, and I know you can't make claims to say that you can remove physical illnesses, but do you see people having results with physical illnesses? And we won't talk about like what they are, but just, yeah.
Yeah, because every physical illness, I mean, if you just, you know, fall down the stairs, it's mostly not there is something energetical behind it. But if you have like an illness, there is always something energetical behind it. So what I do is I clear all the energetical blockages or stuck energies, and then I replace it with high vibrational energies so that the body is not constantly, how do you call it, you know, when exposed to that low vibrational energies, because then it can't heal itself, right?
Yeah.
And when it has high vibrational energies, it can heal itself. I activate the immune system and help.
So the body's able to then do its own healing in a much more efficient manner.
Yes, and so people should still do their treatments, take their medicine, whatever, you know, it's just a support, because you can take the medicine, but if on an energetical level, the problems are still there, like you're probably not going to get rid of them. And if you do on a physical level, it will manifest differently in another illness, you know, like if you just cut out a organ or whatever, then it will manifest somewhere else. So yeah, it's very helpful for ill people, and it's mostly trauma what causes the illness. Yes.
So a traumatic event happens somewhere along the person's life. On their energetic system, there becomes a blockage. Energy isn't moving freely. You know, the chi or the prana isn't able to flow around the body to do its own healing, and they can manifest an illness in certain areas. And you can just go in, you can see where that's happening, you can free it up, you can direct energy to that area.
Yeah, and also what I do is I open up the energy field because it's very closed down for most people. So I open it in a safe space. So it's always like people are always protected. It's always, you know, when they leave the session as well. So that's what's happening. I'm just opening the energy field so that energy can flow better in general. So it's also like for spiritual awakening or being on that path, right? It's so important because the forces can access your system a lot better and work on your system a lot better when it's open. Some scars can leave a lot faster. The healing can happen a lot faster. Your experience of bliss, joy, and all of those things, it's just more ramped up, or you can even then experience it because you couldn't before. So yeah.
Okay, and then again, it's just something you just briefly mentioned there, right? That it's almost like we're working with the same forces, but we're in different veins. Like I'm working more with consciousness, and then you're sort of helping the human side to heal, to like dissolve these samskaras. The two veins will eventually meet, and they're both really, really conductive. They help one another. It's almost like they're two sides to the same coin. And it's like spiritual awakening, it can be hindered by the human being ill or depressed, or, you know, just not able to embody them levels of consciousness.
Yes, exactly. Because you can have also the openness in the system energetically, but the human is in the way, you know?
Yeah.
So then you don't have the experiences because the human is in the way. Yeah. And also we both transmit the higher states as well. You know, it's like that's what's coming through, but also the states we're in. So that's also there. Yeah. So it's a perfect combination.
Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we wrap this interview up?
There was something else coming up before. Hang on. No,
so Eva, again, if anybody wants to get in contact with you, right, we're going to put a link to your website down below. It's em-healing.com, correct?
Yes, and also have a YouTube channel where I release a YouTube video every week. It's a healing or an activation of the spiritual being. So there's
so briefly, let's just come back to that spiritual being, because I think we've missed out on that part. So do you want to just briefly, just that meditation that you do, the transmission that you do with the spiritual being, do you want to talk about what's going on in that?
Yeah, so what's basically happening is that we have a divine, so that the soul has different flavors or different parts, let's call it like that. And one of them is like, it's the divine part in the soul. And the spiritual being is the divine part of the soul. And how I see it with this transmission, this divine part wants to expand in the system. So the spiritual awakening happens from inside out, basically. So it expands in the system and like totally fills out the system, and then comes forward. So it comes in front of the human experience, and it wants to experience a human life through that divine part. So the human steps in the background, and it's basically, okay, you sitting down doing all your sadhana and everything, and if this is activated, it helps you also from the inside out to transform. So it's very handy, and so that's also what I do.
Yeah, so that's really remarkable, because and just to put it into a simple term for people, would you use the word like a higher self nearly to describe that?
I mean, I just called it the spiritual being because it's actually a spiritual being that's in us. It's our core being, right?
Yeah,
And then Sri Aurobindo talks about the psychic being, so it's the same.
same thing.
It comes from inside out, and yeah, takes over
Yeah.
them and
So
everything.
I sent you a voice note the other day talking about the experience I had about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, where I was meditating and all of a sudden I felt a different aspect of myself, like a different come in and like click into me. And it was like, and I just got this message that it was just another part of me that wanted to experience this awakened state that was now been going on in me. It wanted to come in and have that experience. So you would say that was the psychic being
Yes,
stepping
yes.
in. Yeah.
Yes, and it's, yeah, that's that. And it's just so beautiful because life gets so effortless. Like when this comes forward, so I have this for some people, they have that experience. So it comes forward, it stays for a few days, until, have to connect to it multiple times until then it comes forward a bit, like for good. But like life is, it's also very effortless. It's very joyful. It's just, yeah, it's, the flow is there and you feel just really nice and connected to the divine, and it's beautiful, a beautiful experience.
And again, just something again, I just want to I don't want to miss out on talking about this part as well. I just think it'll fit in nicely. Just talking about the physical form, Eva, because you like to work out, you like to take care of the physical form. Do you want to just briefly talk on the importance of keeping the body healthy and how that is a reflection of what we are?
Yeah. So I mean, first of working as a healer, you have to have a very, like, the body has to be very healthy, very fit. I have to feel good. Like when I go into a session, I have to feel really good. I have to feel rested. I can't eat any heavy foods. I have to
Yeah.
eat very light foods, or sometimes in between sessions, I don't even eat because it's in the way. And yeah, and doing like sports, so not heavy sports as I used to do, like competitive sports. It's just kettlebell workouts, it's runs, or it's longer walks, or yoga, just something to feel, so that the body gets moved and the body feels nice. So it's all about like feeling nice. Yeah, so that's very important. And the diet, so I eat mostly a plant-based diet, and this is really helpful. Yeah. So
yeah, so very similar to my experience as well. What I ate, my calorie intake like dropped considerably to like basically one meal a day, and I work so much better on eating less, and I feel better, and the transmissions flow through me so much more efficiently. Whereas like if I eat a pizza, it's just like, oh my goodness, the heaviness, the energy doesn't feel as nice when I'm working with people. So I'm the very same. I like to eat very light, very like mainly plant-based as well. But I do eat some eggs, and as much natural foods, and very similar to what you do, yoga, running, kettlebells, nothing crazy, but just enough that the body, basically the vessel needs to be really, really clear for
yes.
these high frequency energies to come through. And it can't if we're ill and we're toxic and drinking the wrong drinks and eating the wrong foods. It's a hindrance to them energies flowing.
Yes, definitely. So if I would do a session and had something fatty and sugary before, I don't even, and it's not that I don't need to start, but it's like the quality of the session could never be as good as I having
Yeah.
like a smoothie or something.
Yeah.
Because it's just in my sessions, I have to be very focused, and I'm there like for the whole session, like my mind is there, my focus is there, very concentrated. And with those foods, I couldn't have that concentration, because it feels like a coma inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. And for me as well, my experience is very similar. It almost feels like your consciousness molasses has come in as like a heaviness, and it's so much more harder to move through consciousness when all of that heavy foods and sugars and fats are in there.
yeah. So when I started meditating, I was already vegan. So that was already, the crappy food was cut out. I mean, the dairy and stuff, animal products. But also along the path, stuff changed. So I had to stop drinking coffee when I started to do more healing work, because, you know, the nervous system is like, this is the reason why all these energies can come in and my system can hold it, because of the nervous system. And coffee, for example, really influences the nervous system. Sugar, coffee, yeah. So I had to stop coffee, but I feel a lot better now. Of course, you know, before you think, oh, you know, I don't want to give up coffee, but I just couldn't have it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and sometimes if we have a like a grasping or a hanging on to something, an addiction, and coffee drinking is an addiction, because I definitely had an addiction to coffee. I was drinking 7 cups a day at one stage, and I eventually just became allergic to caffeine every time. You know, it was the universe going, stop drinking this stuff. I cut out the sugars, so I've basically gone 12 years with no sugar. And I pretty much around the same time, caffeine disappeared, because I found that they were just amping up my consciousness. I found it much hard to get into really nice states of meditation.
yeah. I mean, you've been doing so much more on that level, and also the fasting, which is amazing. Like, it's just, yeah, very amazing that you did it for so long, and
Yeah,
so much clearer now, you know. So yeah, it makes a big difference, what you eat and drink. Yes, definitely.
definitely. And Eva, do you meditate now? Would you sit down and meditate at home by yourself?
No, because
No.
the thing is, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
So energies don't do anything to me anymore. So I don't, and consciousness wise, not at all. And also energies, because I mean, I'm exposed to energies all day long, different kind of energies, that I'm not influenced
yeah,
anymore. You
yeah,
know, so that's why no, I don't meditate. It doesn't make any difference. Although I still love going to your retreats, even though it doesn't really do anything. But in the end, there's still stuff happening, even though I'm not influenced. I'm still,
yes.
from the last retreat, again, big shift. A lot of stuff could fall away, although I didn't feel any influence. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, consciousness has reached a certain stage, and it's not gonna change. The perceptions aren't going to change any further. But your capacity to hold the energy, your nervous system is being upgraded by yeah,
Yes, exactly.
by
That's
sitting in
what
it.
I felt. So that's very important to upgrade the nervous system, expand the capacity. It's all about that now. So it's
And
all about, yeah.
and we're also not telling people not to meditate. It's just at a certain stage, the meditation falls away.
Yeah, because there's just no use for it anymore.
Yeah,
And the forces are flowing all day long anyways. You know, it's there all the time. The bliss is there. It's just the things you're going for before, they're there then all the time, and then just
yeah.
different things come to open up to learn, to, you know, it's you know, it's just the beginning of a lot more. So we will change, and we will change so much over the next few years, you know. It's
Yes, yeah, and this is the thing. It's like you're never done. You're never finished. And you don't, like, that's where you stay. You stay as a beginner. There's always something new to learn. There's always more. There's always more. It's like, and when you stay in that, it's like, oh, it's like, wow, there's just so much room for more stuff to come in, instead of being closed off and believing that you know it all, or you have the ultimate truth and that's all there is.
Yeah, so I see, the good thing is, by being clairvoyant, I guess, in my healing sessions, I see how people build constructs and concepts, and how they live in those constructs and concepts, and I remove them for them,
Yeah.
and I see what's beyond it. So I'm also learning through seeing what I see for people, and then I know, okay, there's just so much more, you know, everything is just a concept until it's not, and then again there's another concept until this goes, you know. So yeah, it's so fascinating to me. It's just, I enjoy it so much, and yeah, it's beautiful. So I love to grow, I love to learn and experience new things. It's, yeah.
Yeah, and it's and for me, it's so beneficial now to have a friend that I can talk about all these things with, that we're both having very, very similar experiences, and that I can say, wow, you know, I can see what you've become, Eva, and I would recommend, like, I recommend Eva's work so much to any, because I have quite a large group, and I've told so many of the people in my group, go and do sessions with Eva. She's amazing. She can, you know, and yeah, I just think what you're doing is great, Eva. I really do. I see how clear you are. I see that there's no motive, there's nothing behind what you're doing. You're just working from your highest truth to help people. There's nothing, there's absolutely nothing there, and it's so beautiful to see. And you're a blessing to anyone who comes along and works with you.
Thank you so much, Gareth. That's so nice. You know, like hearing this from you means a lot. And I know you're sending all the people, and like they're making great progress, and it's just so beautiful to see. And I'm just so grateful for everything that's unfolding. You know, it's just so beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Eva. And again, if you want to learn more about Eva, her website's down below, em-healing.com. And also your YouTube is the same as well, where you can go and do Eva's meditations. And you also have a Zoom group, don't you, on Thursdays?
Yeah, every Thursday at 8 o'clock GMT or 9 o'clock Central European time, and it's a silent healing meditation. So I transmit the healing energies, and it's silent. It's for about 50 minutes. Yes. So
yeah, and I definitely recommend going and doing them, because yeah, it's just, they're so beneficial, Eva, right?
Yes, very beneficial.
Yeah. So on that note, I think we'll wrap up. This is yeah, and hopefully this is going to be a series of talks that we're going to do. This one is all about Eva. Next time we'll do particular, you know, subjects that people suggest. But today was Eva's day, all about her path and the work that she's doing.
It was great. I really enjoyed talking about it, because it's the first time actually that I've ever, you know, talked about the path, you know, in that kind of setting. And thank you for asking the great questions. You know, you did ask great questions. So
sure. Yeah. Eva, I love you. You're the best. Thank you so much.
Love you too, Gareth.
And I wish you all the best on your journey and your work that you do.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Continue working together a lot.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.